Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Once Upon a Time in PatORG, a podcast where we will be speaking with the All Stars voted out this season. I'm one of your hosts, and today I'm co hosting with a different Season 24 alum. It's Danny. How's it going, Danny?
Hello, Nico. Very happy to be here. I had to take over for Floyd.
We are very happy to have you. It's great to have a chance to chat. And of course, we have the celeb of the hour. It's Jayden, the fourth person voted out of this game. How's it going, Jayden? How are you feeling?
Hello, it's been good.
We love to hear it. Fair play. So obviously, this is an all-star season, and I think personally, I think the sentiment has been shared that it's fairly stacked cast. Um, who, coming into it, or even pre-season, did you expect to see on, or hope that you might get to work with? What were your thoughts pre-season and kind of starting out in those early days?
Um, I really wanted to work with Sarah, and for a little bit I did, and I really enjoyed that. She's great. I love Sarah, but other than her, I always wanted to work with Shaylin and like Talia and Andrew and Steven, and they're all playing, but of course I weren't on any of their tribes, so I didn't get a chance to work with them. But they're all great people.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have sort of somewhat of a pre-game relationship with some of those people, right? So I'm sure it would be fun to kind of have the opportunity to play this game with people you otherwise have a bit of a knowledge with. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always like I don't know. It's kind of like I don't want to say that I was only planning on working with them. Like of course I wasn't gonna throw my game for any of them. Like if that makes sense. But I
Absolutely.
enjoy their company and they're all really nice people.
And coming from your previous season, season 19, you have Stanley, Lily, and Royals on the cast. How are you feeling about those three?
Um, so I love Royals. Royals we were there was we butt heads a little bit at the end of the season, but it was a friendly rivalry. And then Lily and Stanley are I'm sure they're great people. They're not my favorite, but that's just we just I never really could get. I just talking to them is hard. It's like chewing concrete for both of them. It's like it's just so painful.
That kind of I want to hear a bit more about Stanley specifically because obviously you guys end up getting put on a tribe together, um, and you had an interesting relationship, shall we say? It's obviously hard to know sometimes when people are kind of putting on a bit of a show in confessionals or exaggerating. So we did see a few times you kind of having a bit of time to kind of share your thoughts on Stanley. What was the real thing going on in your mind there? How did you feel about that relationship?
Stanley, I'm sure he's a great guy, but just talking to him, it's so hard. And I know he's not trying to do anything like bad. He doesn't mean to upset me, but just talking to him just really upsets me. And I don't, it takes so much out of me, like the good morning texts, like everything. It's just like, I don't want to talk to you, Stanley. I don't want to get carried away, but like, Stanley's my least favorite kind of person. It's just men in their 30s.
Oh, man. That's kind of a challenge going into a game that's all about socializing, right?
Exactly. If I can't get like a good connection going, I just drop it. I just drop the conversation because it takes so much effort on my end to keep up with these conversations. But of course, being a a teenager, it's just there's nothing I really have to talk with Stanley.
Did you feel kind of obviously having met him from your previous season, do you feel like that kind of coloured the way you thought your interactions would be, or did you feel like you're willing to give things see how they pan out, or you just kind of had an idea in your mind that you just weren't going to particularly gel?
I Yeah, so in season 19, when I first talked to Stanley, we were like pretending to be nice because we were like on two different sides of the game. I was in like we were in two different like head-to-head alliances. And I never had a reason to work with Stanley or like prove that I wanted to be friends with him. So it was just like fake DMing, trying to be like pretend to be nice to each other, even though we were voting each other out the next tribal council. But this time I had to actually work up something with Stanley, so I had to put more effort into it, and I think that's why it was so just exhausting.
Going back to your previous season, it was a Stone Age. That was a back to basic season, meaning there was very minimal twists, if any twists at all. And then here we have the Hollywood sign as a twist, which you were a part of. How did you feel about that in the beginning of the game when you first heard about the sign?
When I first heard about it, I've never been one to like go to exile or like want to go to exile. It's just takes too much effort in my opinion. I just choose to not do things so I can rest. Um, so it was like I didn't really feel like I was gonna have that much interaction with it.
Well, we saw that you did get chosen and you did go to the sign and were presented with the challenge. And immediately you and Talia sort of just didn't want to do the challenge. What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so I know Pat very well. I know PatORG, I know his antics, and I know that he loves to see people suffer. And his challenges are like the bane of my existence. And most of the time I just choose to not do them. I think in season 19, out of like all the immunity challenges I was in, I only ever completed like two of them. So, yeah, I already went in having that negative attitude about it. Like, I don't want to do this, whatever it is.
You did have that sort of backup from Talia, so that was quite funny to see. Like you both kind of
Yeah.
decided that was the way things were gonna go.
Right.
So I think at the time you had the choice between like what was it, Brawn and Brain? Um,
hmm
if you absolutely were somehow like forced to do one of the two, what do you think would have been more up your street? Because I think the Brawn one was something that was a bit more effort, but probably more manageable with time, whereas the Brain was something that arguably you could do quicker if it was like something you were good at. I think it ends up materializing that this season they're logic puzzles. So what would have been more up your street if you had to do one of the two?
So the Braun one was talking about determination. And off the bat, I was like, I don't want to do that because determination is like my least favorite word. I hate it. I hate having to put effort into things. So I was not a very big fan of that one. So it just kind of I had to do brain if I had to choose between the two of them. And then it was end up being a logic puzzle, which I'm also terrible at. So, it's a lose-lose.
Funnily enough, that round, you guys do end up going to tribal, so you are safe. Um, did you have any inclination that potentially that was like an important like thing for you that you got safety? Because we actually saw a bit of talk about. I think Sarah in particular was starting to finally get convinced that Justin was someone that was with her, and she was trying to get the vote on someone else. Was that a worry for you potentially that in that sort of spot you could have been a name?
Definitely. It's just on a small tribe, I never do good. It's like, I don't know what it is, but every time I'm on like a really small tribe, I just have a really hard time connecting. And it's like, there's not many places to hide. And on a tribe like that, I feel like there's definitely a core alliance. I know that now, but at the time, I wasn't too aware of my place. Like, I knew I wasn't up there, but like I figured I was closer to the bottom on tribal lines. But I felt like if I did go to tribal council, it was definitely me or Justin.
Yeah, unfortunately, you did end up being on a tribe with Sarah, so she does have a bit of a notable curse that's kind of followed her around that we're unfortunately seeing carrying on into these future rounds. So that meant that some of the challenges didn't go your guys' way. One of them was I think the scavenger hunt challenge was something you didn't particularly find the most fun. There were some, again, confessionals about you where Stanley had posted a few different cups of water, none of which had counted. Uh, Tell me a bit about that.
So that scavenger hunt challenge, I can usually do those, like scavenger hunts and other orgs and even PatORG in 19. I'm fine with doing them. It's, we all agreed, everyone on the tribe had voted for a time, and we all agreed, I think it was like 6 Eastern time. And for whatever reason, I don't know who started it. I'm assuming it's Stanley because why would it be anyone else? It's so he wanted to do it like right now, and he was at work, and he'd be like, "Oh, you'd be surprised the things I could find at work." And so we started it right then, and the only things he could find at work were three pictures of cups of water. None of them counted. And then he wrote down the lyrics to a Whitney Houston song, which we had already submitted. So I'm convinced that he had done that just to throw. I don't understand why he would want to start and be like, "Oh, I have so many things at my disposal," and then just cups of water in a note. Like, are you kidding? I thought it was so annoying.
Funnily enough, kind of give a bit of an indication of where we're at currently in terms of the season. He's actually running a challenge now that he's told people he was available to do, but has since said that he can't actually, now that they're running it and the clock is ticking, he can't do because he can't do that whilst he's driving. So
Yeah.
this seems to be a bit of something that's kind of recurring with him. So it will be fun to see
Yes.
if like this is finally like the straw that breaks the camel's back, or if the like
I
majority
hope.
alliance he made himself in is going to be able to save him. So yeah, that's just something that kind of parallels with what you're saying, I guess. So
Right.
uh,
I really hope they take him out here. Like, I hope this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. I feel like there should have been a few straws earlier that broke the camel's back, but I think Stanley had done the same thing previously. Like, he said he was going to do, it was like the trivia challenge, the PatORG trivia. He said he was available, and then he just stopped halfway through. I think Sarah mentioned that. I didn't read any of the archives for that.
Yeah, and he was pretty much towards the bottom of your trust rankings the entire time you were on the season. Um, which, by the way, your trust rankings didn't change much, except for when you were sort of near the end of your game and you saw Gabriel as a closer ally and you bumped him up on your trust rankings. Was this because Gabriel really wanted to push to get the vote off of you, but was ultimately unsuccessful at your tribal?
Yeah, I suppose that does like it is like so that's kind of a reason, but it was mainly because Sarah had told me that DeLuca was stronger or closer with Stanley, and I can't stand Stanley. So I just kind of was trying to go a little bit away from DeLuca because I don't want to be near or around him or anyone that likes him.
Fair enough.
so we ultimately see, I guess, unfortunately enough for you, that Stanley is part of this, and I think at this point everyone else remaining is part of this. Was it United Artists Alliance? So that kind of did put you in a difficult spot in this round. Um, what once you obviously see the formal alliance being made between you and Gabriel and Sarah, did that kind of give you like hope that you would be able to make it out this round? What were your ultimate thoughts, kind of about where things might go at this point?
I really thought it was pretty straightforward, DeLuca being on the Hollywood sign. The three of us could just vote out Stanley, who was her closest ally, like but of course, I'm not too sure exactly what happened, but it didn't go that way. And that alliance, like I felt pretty comfortable there, but I didn't rule out that I might be going home.
I do think we saw Sarah try and save you that round, and I think it was just tough because I think there was obviously speculation about a swap, and I think even from the last round they were worried about sort of going after one of DeLuca and Stanley and then leaving the remaining one in the game in case like obviously word got out following a swap, and obviously that just maybe doesn't look good. So I think again they tried to see if there was another way they could go, but I think it might have even been Peter just didn't think it made sense at this time to kind of stray from the five of them with a swap kind of looming potentially. So it was just a bit of unluckiness there, and I think if um, they ultimately got DeLuca last round, when ultimately Justin ends up going, then I think they would have followed up with a Stanley vote here. So it was just, I think we saw the Hollywood sign kind of make a really big impact on the boots this season so far. Um,
Right.
how did it kind of feel like knowing that it was you or Stanley in particular?
Um, it's it's I just of course it's Stanley. It's like it's kind of it's almost like a slap in the face. It's like the my only shot of like staying in here is Stanley going, and it's like it has to be Stanley. Like it couldn't be anyone else. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like it's just I'm sure he's a great person. I just can't stand Stanley.
That's fair. You seem to be getting a lot of your frustrations out right now, but towards the exit of your game, you were relatively calm about how the season ended for you. What was it that made it, feel so easy to sort of just say, "Hey, this is the end for me, and I'm okay with that."
I had just played two orgs one after another, and this was the third in a row. I think I had like 3 days in between my first one and my second one, and then this one happened while I was on the jury for the second one. So it was a lot to take in, and those are all three all stars, and I was ready for it to be over. That was my PatORG's my last org. I don't play or I don't intend on playing any other orgs. So, and honestly, it was good for me that I got out so early because I don't know how much I could take of it anymore. Orgs take a lot out of me.
I think that's,
Agreed.
yeah, very fair enough. Even someone who got voted out first in hindsight, I was like, maybe this was the best because who knows how long I could have hacked it if I had to go a longer term. So I do feel you there. Um,
Mhm.
on the off chance that you were able to actually make it through, we see that there is this swap that ends up happening. So you kind of mentioned briefly at the beginning about pre-game who you might have had desire to work with, but who might have you been wanting to work with come this swap or been put this swap? Can't get my words out right. So who would might have you wanted to work with or get placed with or not placed with if it came down to getting to that swap stage?
I would have loved to continue working with Sarah. She told me that she really enjoyed working with me, or like what we had, just in the very small moment we had with each other in the beginning of the game. I would have loved to continue to working with Sarah, and like I said, I'm pretty good friends with Shaylin and Andrew and Talia and Steven. I would have really enjoyed working with them, and maybe even Royals to reunite on season 19 if it worked out that way.
That would have been very fun to watch, gotta say. Um, but you left the game on a high note. It's not something that a lot of people could do. You just got off doing, like you said, three All Star seasons, and now you're considering maybe not playing anymore. Do you have anything that you're sort of reflecting on when you're thinking about your time in PatORG or even just your time in the org community at large?
Um, it's like when I first did an org, I got second of my first ever org, and it was like such an amazing feeling. Like everyone thinks I'm Rob, like these people want to watch me play again. I was like I don't know, I was almost honored, and I was like, this is amazing, I have to play more. And then I played after another and after another, like so many orgs. And it's just after a while, it's just I lost my spark, and it becomes more like exhausting than it was fun. But I love this community so much. Like it's everyone here is so welcoming and nice, and it's it means a lot to be here. And just to end on a like you said, a high note, it's it's wonderful. I'm so happy it ended this way.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. I mean, PatOrg was an introduction for me to orgs and just, yeah, as you say, this community that is just has something really special about it. So it's been so great. Obviously, here we are now speaking on a podcast. Who'd have thought it would get to this stage? But yeah, it's just nice being able to see someone kind of take that uh, good stuff from the game that can sometimes kind of be very draining or like get ugly at times. So yeah, it's just nice to see that happen. And yeah, you were great to watch. And um, this is just yeah, really good viewing. And obviously, this All Star season, it's going to hurt every time we see anyone go at this stage.
Absolutely. And I absolutely agree with both of you. I think the PatORG community is fantastic. I love it there. And sometimes it really is just better to be in the spec lounge and watch everything go down and just hang out with your friends.
Big agree there. props to the players though who are giving us the content and uh, entertainment, but it's not without
Absolutely.
a cost to them sometimes. So here we all are getting to enjoy what's going on moving forward. Um, so are you kind of keeping an eye on what's going on now, Jayden, or are you feeling like you're just kind of enjoying the chill life now that you're away from it all?
Yeah, I've just been relaxing. I've never been a good spectator. I just can't get into it. I just the only times I ever really like watch is if there's someone I know and I'm there for them, but I usually just cannot spectate and work for very long. I just get bored of it. But I check in here and there.
That's totally fair enough. And am I right in thinking that you were one of the people who recommended Kasia to play in my season?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
was.
so that was really good fun. Still speak to Kasia every now and again, so it was nice to have that little
Hmm.
connection to hear that she kind of played because you got her too. So yeah, throwback
Word.
to OG Montu Curse, us all going back to back besides Sarah. So we'll see how she gets on now.
Hmm.
Right, any other closing thoughts, Jayden, before we let you go? This has been so much fun otherwise.
I thank you for having me. Really, this is so fun. I've never been interviewed for anything before. I love how, there's like a podcast on this following. It's so amazing.
Great, yeah, absolutely, and we really thank you for giving us your time. I know you've kind of dealt with obviously it quite well, like being voted out and stuff. But I know for some people it's obviously hard to maybe revisit. For other people, it's like really cathartic. I think even when you
Mhm.
mentioned like coming second, like this whole like org experience can be so intoxicating for some, but there is just that
Mhm.
range of emotions that come with it. So it's really nice that it's yeah, on a high, and hopefully for this All Star season, it manages to kind of maintain that. Um, but yeah, thank you both so much for joining me. Um, this has been Once Upon a Time in PatORG, and we will catch you next time. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Right.